ready. Oh, that's what she said. That's always funny. It's never going to not be funny. It doesn't matter how old they get. Always going to be great. There's so many things that she says
We're
all the
grown
time.
children.
Yeah.
Grown children.
We are
Overgrown
back.
children.
We are making a concerted effort to try to get started and dive into this so that we don't like spend 45 minutes before we play 3 minutes of video games and then talk about it for another 3 hours. So
Although a shit show is sometimes a lot of fun, but
it is.
We're gonna get it cracking.
Yeah, we are. We actually have started to perfect the idea of the shit show. That actually could have been the name of our show. It could have been just called the shit show, but we decided to call we decided to call it Ready Player 2, which is our subset of Live from the Man Cave, where we play games together and continue one of our most important traditions, which is drink while doing pretty much anything. That's essentially kind of the through line, right? Is like you can just say anything we do is you do blah 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 while drinking. In this
Uh-oh. I think we lost him for a second here. Or it may have lost me. I don't know if anybody could hear me. I can't hear him.
Oh no! Did it drop out? Am I gone?
There we go. Now you're back.
Oh, you know what I think happened? I think during our preset when we were setting everything up, it was long enough where my the controller died. So I think we're
shit.
Hopefully, but I turned it back on. So hopefully, if it dies again, let me know, and that means I just have to switch over to my other controller just in case if there's like some kind of a battery issue. But I think we're good now. So.
No worries. In the meantime, by the way, I posted our website, livemancave.com. That's where you can find our regular episodes of the podcast, some movie reviews, an invite, like a link to our Discord server. So anything that we say here, if you missed this chat, but you still want to come in and talk about it tomorrow or whatever, you watch this on YouTube, where it will be posted on our YouTube account. All the old episodes, by the way, you can find at youtube.com.
Yes.
And then /live man cave, which I'm typing right now into the chat as well.
Yes, sir.
All right.
So we got,
like
we got
you
a lot
said,
of different things happening. Yeah.
Our general format is first, drink beer.
Yes, sir.
Second, keep drinking beer.
Yes.
Third, play this video game. We do one mission at a time, and then after that, we talk about what we just saw, what choices you made, etc. Especially in this game, that is a very choice-driven game.
Yes.
So for most of you, we would recommend go back and watch the old episodes to see what choices were made and like kind of how the story progressed. For those of you that are jumping in live and want to comment in the chat and everything like that, let's bring you up to speed real fast. If you remember this story in particular, this mission involves Marcus. He is an android, and he was previously featured in Shades of Color, which was Mission 3, where he was buying some paint and was accosted by a crowd of humans who were upset that androids are taking their jobs. He was roughed up a little bit. Cop eventually stepped in and said, "You're possibly destroying property, and I'll arrest you." So they backed off. I
like how it was possibly destroying property. They're like, I'm not really sure, but I don't know. Probably destroying
he didn't want to do it.
He was just kind of bummed out. You could tell he was bummed out about it, but it was like, it was almost, it looks kind of like it was like a prison fight, where it was like, I let this go on long enough, now I guess I'm like obligated to get in and act like I'm doing my job, but like I really just wanted this shit to go down for a little bit longer, so that's kind of where that all went down. You could tell he did not give a shit about that android.
Exactly. So the dude, brushes himself off. Marcus goes home, and it turns out that he's the guy that owns him is a guy named Carl, I believe, is his owner. It's an old man.
I believe it was Carl. Yes, Carl and Leo.
Genius painter. Yep. And he's a genius painter and really well known, very rich, and he treats Marcus like a human being and tries to instill in him philosophy and get him to think for himself.
Right.
Get him to
almost like a son, right? Bit of a
right.
son, like a father-son relationship there.
But then we find out that Carl actually already has a biological son, a human named Leo, who's like a fucking drug addict and constantly comes home and asks for money. And on this occasion, he barges in, asks for money, and he's really rude, pushes Marcus, rude to his dad, and dad throws him out. And that was and that happened over the episode. Yeah, over one of those episodes, possibly the one that's the painter. I think it was at the end of the painter.
Yes.
Then Broken, he's wheeling Carl back from something, and it turns out that the son broke into the house, and in the midst of, they caught him kind of red-handed trying to steal some art so he could hawk it probably and pay for his drugs or whatever he's into. And in the middle of the whole thing, it kind of gets out of hand. He starts pushing and abusing Marcus, and Carl asks him not to fight back, but Marcus starts thinking for himself and goes deviant, meaning he breaks his programming, and I guess he pushes Leo really hard or something like that. And in the midst of it, somehow, what happens to Leo?
No. So actually, he didn't push. He did not push. Yeah, I could have. I could have struck him.
You restrained yourself, right?
I went deviant, but I still restrained myself because I was listening to, my surrogate dad, Carl, saying don't fight back. Like, he's being a dick, but don't fight back. Like, leave him alone and whatever. And so, and Leo gets real crazy. Like, he pushes his head up against the wall or up on the desk, and he's kind of getting really physical with him. And so the Carl is essentially just like, Leo, no, and he's freaking out. And then all of a sudden he kind of clutches his heart. He falls out of the chair, and you can see he's going into cardiac arrest. Finally, Leo kind of realizes what the fuck just happened, and so Marcus runs over and he's like, no, Carl, and he's please don't leave me, don't leave me here. And he's crying, and he's obviously visibly upset, while Leo's just kind of standing there oh shit, what did I just do? And throughout the course of all that, the cops bust in, and they're like, what the fuck is going on? Because I guess I think we had called the cops. I guess I don't remember
the cops,
exactly.
Exactly, because Carl told Marcus to call the cops.
Oh, to call the cops. Yes, that's right.
As soon as they heard the noise, somebody had broken in.
That's right.
So.
Yep. So
then what happens when the cops come
in? Yep. The cops come in and they're like, "Get the fuck away from him!" And he's like, "No." And then Leo, like a shitty douchebag, says, "It was the robot. He did it. Like the android did it. I think he killed my dad or whatever." And Marcus essentially is just like, "No." And then they're just like, I think he starts to stand up. I think that's kind of what happens. You see him start to stand up away from Carl's kind of unconscious or possibly dead body. I'd assume dead. You actually know for a fact he's dead because they do shit. You see him kind of dying as he's crying.
Yeah.
And then as he stands up away from the body, the cops are like, "Don't move!" And you just hear a gunshot, and it's like the classic cliffhanger. Yeah, the gunshot goes off, and then it cuts right to the end of the chapter scene.
So two things really quick. The reason I misremembered that is because in my playthrough of the version, I actually attacked Leo.
Right.
Or I fought back.
Yes.
And then I ended up seriously fucking him up. Right. And we weren't sure what his condition was at the time. And then that's when the cops busted in and just kind of saw him standing over that, and then they shot him. While Carl screamed no. So in your version, it was Carl actually died. And then, cops bust in on Marcus and open up fire on him. And the other thing, I'm surprised I don't think we talked about, the obvious, the other elephant in the room, the very obvious scenario, or the all too common scenario now in the United States of black man called the cops on somebody else, and then they come and shoot him.
Right.
Which I'm actually surprised we didn't have a conversation about. But that's all right. We'll have plenty of issues, I'm sure, to talk about today as Marcus' story continues in Mission 11, which is called Broken. Before we get into that, I want to give a big shout out to Dodd Man, who's in the chat. He says, "Hola, UAC." I don't know what UAC means.
I don't know what the hell's going on. Maybe he just fell out of his wheelchair, and somebody needs to call an android to get over there and help him, because he is just typing. He's just typing all kinds of crazy.
And the last thing,
hopefully, he jumped off to a drinking start.
Before we get into our beer, because I've got a beer sitting in front of me already, and I really want to crack it open. But I do see on your screen that before we're able to play the game today, CyberLife, the makers of all the androids, wants to conduct a survey to know what users think. Yeah. So, do you want to participate in that service?
I do. I left this open, so as soon as I loaded it up in preparation to do this, to run through get the game started and everything, as soon as I turned it on, it was the lady, the female android that always kind of introduces you and walks you through the, getting the game set up. She just said, "Hey, thanks for coming back. Cyberdyne, my or CyberLife, my Cyberdyne. This is not Terminator, but CyberLife, my creators are conducting a survey. Are you interested in that? So she actually like talked to you at first, and then she said, you'll see. Yeah, she said, you'll see in a second, like a prompt will pop up, and then this thing popped up. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna leave it on this until we get the game rolling. So I don't know, because this is the first time I've ever seen this. I've never seen one of these, so I was pretty excited to check it out. Yes,
Craig.
Dodd is definitely, it's an alcohol thing. He's not having a stroke apparently. He is.
Yes, that is not a problem, Dodd. That is an attribute.
Yeah.
And if this drunk.
Man.
Hey,
wow.
So real quick, seeing that now, Craig, I'm sorry. I just don't have the willpower anymore. We need to get into the beer before we take the survey.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Really
absolutely.
At this point.
Absolutely.
He's drunk and I'm not. I'm pissed.
It's really bothering me. I love the way he spelled problematic, so it's making me really want to drink badly.
Can I go first?
Yes, absolutely. Dive into it.
So I was just going through the liquor store and I ran across Red's Blueberry Ale. I know they do apple ale. I've never tried it. I almost did one of those farmhouse ales, and I was like, I'm not in the mood right now for some reason for just like a regular beer taste, like a regular ale taste.
Yep.
So this was the first one that I ran across. I'm like, oh, this might be different, and so I'm hoping that there's a nice blend of the blueberry and it's not just like sweet juice. You know what I mean? Okay. But nice. We'll see how it goes. Have you tried this before?
I have not had that one. No. So I'm interested to see how that tastes.
Have you tried the apple ale?
I have. That one I have had.
So, do you like that one?
I mean, it's not necessarily my style. I don't necessarily dislike it like out of hand, but it's not like something I typically kind of go out, searching for. But I didn't dislike that one at all. It's one of those, like, I think it's refreshing. If you're sitting outside, like, it was one of those ones where you can have one if it's like nice and warm out. It's hot during the summertime, shit like that. I enjoyed it. But, what do you think about that one?
So I haven't tried. I just smelled it. Okay. So this is it. So it says brewed exceptionally crisp right on the label, and I will say it's 5% ABV by the way. So this is going to be sessionable. But that is what it smells like a crisp cider smell. So to me, they shouldn't even call this ale. It smells like blueberry cider, like almost, if you can even make blueberry cider. Right. So it smells great. It smells like almost like an air freshener, like
nice. It's
like a tint of alcohol to it. Like
nice. That's how I love my air fresheners.
As I drink it. Yeah, it's not bad. It's it's like a changing, like the blueberry comes in light at first, and almost again it has like cider hits you like very citrusy and light. Right. It's like if I wasn't in the mood for like beer today, I was like cool with cider. Like this would have been a nice alternative. Right. And it's kind of so I'm drinking like the cider taste hits me, and then the blueberry overwhelming taste comes in, and kind of on the back end and bangs in. So I mean.
On the back end and bangs in.
I gotta say, I guess I'm not rating this like, oh, you gotta get this Red's Blueberry Ale. I mean, it's all right. It's all right. It's good for what it is. I didn't feel like drinking I definitely didn't feel like doing like an IPA or some shit tonight. So and stout for some reason didn't really apply to me. I wasn't in that kind of like heavy mode. I wanted something light and crisp. Just doing a trick. It's not great. It's not bad.
Nice. Well.
All right, this is the show to try some shit on, right?
Yeah, exactly. This is how we do it. So speaking of stouts, by the way, I wanted to give a quick, a little mini shout out, because we don't normally do this. We kind of jump right into what we're drinking, but I want to give a shout out to a beer that I had actually posted in our Discord server earlier today when I was out at dinner. I saw they had Goose Island. So Goose Island has their Bourbon County brand, their BCBs and all that. Yes, so they had their Bourbon County brand Midnight Orange Stout, which is exactly what it sounds like. They took orange and chocolate and mixed it with their Bourbon County base. So it basically has orange zest and you get like a lot of chocolate flavor. And this one was 15.2% alcohol. So this one was like, yeah, that shit would have fucked you up. I mean, it was like, I'm not kidding. We have well established on this show when we like to talk about like beers where you don't necessarily, like, man, I would get wrecked off this because it's stronger than it tastes. Or other times where you're like, no, it tastes exactly as strong as it is. This was one of those ones where it tasted even slightly stronger than that, which is to say that it tasted where it was
like barley wine.
It was even more. It was just straight up like it was just like having like liquor. Like it was so heavy and strong that it was
Jaeger.
like, yeah, it was like having a thing of bourbon and just like sipping it like neat. Like you would just take a tiny little sip and you got in a little. I mean, it was like a 8 ounce glass that they gave you about 7 ounces filled in it, and you just sipped on it. And I mean, it took all dinner to finish 7 ounces of that beer, but it tasted fucking delicious. I highly, highly recommend that beer. It was incredible.
Wait, are you drinking that now?
No. That was what I had for dinner. So I just wanted to give a shout out for that one because I enjoyed it so much that I just wanted to,
Just brought that back as a beer of the show.
I know. I'm probably going to at some point because I did enjoy it so much. But what I'm having actually now is a little bit different. It's a bit of a throwback to, if you remember last show, we did. I had the Weyerbacher, the Berry Monks, and so we had talked a little bit about that Berry Monks, and I know you had that one before, and it's kind of a spin on one of their more regular beers where they just kind of they infuse it with more of like a berry flavor, a fruit flavor. So this time I actually just went back to the original, and I ended up choosing Merry Monks, just the original Merry Monks beer, which is it's a Belgian style triple ale. It's Pilsner malt combined with an Abbey yeast strain, yields a remarkable and complex flavor packed with notes of spice, banana, and pear, nicely balanced with a moderate to dry finish, and it's bottle conditioned, imparting a special effervescence to the beer and a creamier carbonation. It's 9.3% ABV. So you've had this one before, right?
So say the name of it again.
This is Merry Monks by Weyerbacher.
The regular one. Yeah.
The normal. Yeah. So not the last time I had Berry Monks. This time I went back to the original. This Merry Monks is. I just took a smell of this one, and you can smell basically that banana. That banana flavor almost immediately. You get that kind of banana and spice, smell to it almost instantly. And all right, I'm gonna take a sip of this guy. Yeah, I mean, I've had this one before. I love it. It's so good. It's like I said, 9.3, but this is one of those ones where it doesn't taste as strong as that. It doesn't. It's not like it tastes like super sessionable. It doesn't taste like, it's not like you're drinking like a 5% where you're like, oh yeah, I could crack these, like all night long like a Miller Lite. It's not like that. But it definitely doesn't taste like something that you would get super banged up off of, even though you probably will. But yeah, that kind of that banana and spice, like almost like a clove spice to it or something, is pretty forward facing. And obviously the big difference with this one versus the Berry Monks, like you don't get the the berry fruit flavor to it. You get more the kind of the banana, almost like a banana bread type flavor. It's delicious. So this one is always a big winner for me. I enjoy Merry Monks, and it's one of those that I can have pretty much any time of the year. It goes
What's
down.
What's the ABV on that again?
9.3.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, Craig, now that I've had a chance to have a few more sips of this and kind of let it settle in.
Yep.
I will say, and then especially hearing what you're drinking. So I think what you're drinking is what I was in the mood for tonight. Something that was less like hardcore beer and more kind of like maybe it had a fruit kick to it, but was still beer. And unfortunately, I went down this road of reds, and I gotta say, the more I drink it, the more I dislike it.
Really?
So I'm gonna say, don't get this. This is like the more I drink it, the more the sweetness hits me. It's like overly sweet,
right? Almost
like bordering on malt liquor. Like,
yeah.
And and I like my bull. I like my Schlitz malt liquor, but I don't. This I don't like. The blueberry. It's like. It's almost a wine cooler. Yeah. And I'm gonna drink it anyway because it's fucking in front of me. And I will say that my liquor store trip wasn't like, oh, this is what I settled on, right? Like just by itself, like to break the fourth wall. I went out there, I saw various beers, and I got a few different things. And this was kind of like the last thing I bought. Like, yeah, why not? Let's take a chance. Mm-hmm. And then when I got home, it was like the first thing in my hand. So I was like, fuck it, I'll just I'll use it on Ready Player 2 tonight. And let's So I guess what I'm saying is, if you see Red's Blueberry Ale in the store, don't
get it. There you go.
sounds about go for Weyerbacher Merry Monks instead, or Berry Monks, either one of the two.
I was going to say
what I was looking for.
I was interested because you seemed more positive or more receptive to it than I would have anticipated based on my history.
My past.
My history with that beer and your normal tastes. So this, you're kind of regressing back to the mean of what I assumed you would have thought of it, which is like
I was looking like beer with like maybe a berry aftertaste, and this turned out to be like blueberry juice with a lot of sugar and then some fucking ale. Like a
little bit of beer aftertaste.
Fail. Yeah. Possibly somebody backwashed beer into this at some point, and that was like some guy that was drinking it on. For my purposes, I'm gonna hope it was a good-looking woman who was drinking some good beer, or drinking beer rather, drank this fucking blueberry juice and then backwashed some fucking beer into it, and that's what I'm getting right now.
Sounds delicious. On that note, are you ready to kick off this survey and see what happens?
Yeah.
Speaking of pretty women backwashing into your beer, you want to see what this is all about? Let's see what this Android lady has to say.
Yeah.
All right. We are going to... So I also wonder, who's the jerk that says, no, I don't want to participate in this survey of this video game that I've purchased and I'm currently playing? That's like them being like, hey, do you want to play this board? Do you want to play this next mission?
Do you want to get into that? Because that takes us into that conversation of social media engineering and marketing experts taking advantage of like tricking you into doing shit that they use their marketing for.
Right.
In this case, I don't think you're as at much risk, but it's funny you say that because you brought up the article. Was it you? You brought up the article in our Discord chat?
I did.
And by the way, we do have a Discord server. You guys need to get on it if you watch this video on YouTube. Dodman's in there, and he is chock full of great stuff, except when he hates on David Cage.
Yep.
But you brought up this latest thing with this Facebook 10-year challenge.
Yep.
See, sometimes we go down rabbit holes, people, and that's what this is all about. We're a podcast first, and this is just kind of like a project, and we're here to talk about some shit. So you want to talk about basically what the article was about?
Yeah. So basically, the article was so it came out up front, basically saying, hey, I might be being a bit of a I might have an overreaction to this, but the response was. But you posted
it on Twitter. It was just a Twitter post that was.
Yes.
It was just straight up like, hey, younger me would have participated in this shit, but
instantly,
now older me is paranoid that they're going to use my shit for their marketing purposes, and this is all a big trick.
Right. And so the entire thing was to say that what Twitter is trying to do, what Facebook is trying to do in this case specifically, is they are trying to use the average person to go out and do the research for them, so that they, specifically in this case, to like improve their facial recognition software. So their whole thing is like, hey, let's make it sound like a cool, wacky game. We're like, hey, post pictures of yourself from 10 years ago and post a picture of yourself right now, like your profile picture from then and now, and see, like, have you changed a lot? Have you not? I mean, any of you listening have probably either seen that specific thing, or you've seen articles of like that'll say like, here's 10 celebrities that like prove that immortality is a thing because they look exactly the same as they did 10 years ago. And so like it's varying degrees of that. And so what the writer of this article is basically saying, they couch it in this idea that you're like participating in this cool social experiment game with your friends, when in reality what they're trying to do is say, we can gather the most easiest research possible of what does a person's, like facial recognition look like change over the course of 10 years. And if we get you to post it yourself, it's much easier than us having to go in and like do the hard work of data mining and look back at your profile and compare it from 10 years ago to today.
Or even hire people that willingly participate, right? And pay the money.
Just, or have to pay people to do it. Like in this, we don't have to pay them shit because they'll just do it because people just do anything. And the one thing
a challenge.
Right, it's a fun challenge to show your friends and say, look, oh my God, look how much better I look than you, and compared to 10 years ago, or whatever. And the interesting thing was, a lot of people were like, well, no, it's stupid because my profile pictures are public, so they could just go back and look at that anytime they want anyway. And so, yes, that's true. Number one. Number two, not everyone is, their pictures are public, and so some stuff is a little bit harder to dig through. Number two, some people don't actually post like regular profile pictures all the time of themselves. They could have the same picture over the last 9 years. So now this is forcing them to go in and say, hey, find a picture that you have on your phone from 10 years ago and post it next to a current picture of yourself. And so now we can compare that. Number three, and most importantly, that doesn't account for the vast majority of people who, like, for example, I'm sure there was a point in my life where I have a profile picture on fucking Friendster that was a picture of fucking Batman. Just because I was a child and I thought Batman was cool and I just wanted the face to be a picture of Batman punching the Joker. Like, so that's not going to help Facebook if they have to go in and be like, well, shit, CraigMakk looks real good compared to his picture of being punching Joker in the face. So like what they want to do is say, instead of us having to go through and plus also you might have taken a picture 10 years ago. Your profile picture could have been a picture of you from 3 years before that, from like your wedding that you just kept because you really liked that picture. So there's no way for them to actually know that is, you know, that the picture that you have at that time is actually a current picture of you at that time. So when they do it this way, yes, do they still not 100% know that, because you could post a picture of yourself from, you know, 9 years ago instead of 10 years ago. But the point is, the research is much more heavily weighted towards the accuracy when you make the rules of the game be the thing that they're trying to investigate and research into. And so they're basically just getting you to data mine yourself and provide this information to them and not have to pay you a goddamn thing, to make it super easy because you're literally hitting the submit button that sends it to them. And very similar to, you even mentioned like those things that are like, you know, which Power Ranger are you most like? And everyone thinks that's like a wacky game, but it's mostly ways to like, how can we figure out?
It's a fun game that they tell me what Power Ranger I am, and in the meantime, it's like, so do you prefer products that are more sporting, or do you prefer jewelry? And you're like, oh, well, obviously then you're the Green Ranger. And like, do
you like
Green
dancing?
Ranger? And they're like, yeah, thanks for the free fucking marketing survey you just took.
Right.
But
do you like dancing?
If they hit you up, would you like to take part in the survey? You're like, fuck you, I don't got time for that.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Fucking survey. I'm not gonna do fucking free survey for you. Fuck you, pay me. Right. And then they're like, yeah, but you want to come back and play this game and find out which Sopranos character you are? Hell yeah! I'll fucking stop work right now and do that. So I think people just don't like being tricked into doing that shit, and that's where it comes from.
Right. And so the funny thing is about this, right? And this is where part of it breaks down, because like I mean, I don't do most of those challenges and shit anyway, because I just think they're dumb and whatever, like they're just stupid. Although I did get suckered into
one on the show.
Right. I did get suckered into doing the one about like the which Game of Thrones house. Yeah, because fucking I'll answer those stupid questions, and I just want to.
You're a Game of Thrones fanboy.
Right. I really just want to find out that I'm in House Stark. Like that's basically what it is. Like let's be honest. So like.
In fact, you were tailoring your answers like anything or what. I think this question has wolves in it. Wolves. I like wolves. I prefer wolves.
Right.
Dire wolves.
Do you like to howl or howl every time? Howl. The answer is always howl at the moon. But so like the thing about
do you like it warm or cold? I like it cold. I like it really cold.
Right.
Winter's my favorite season.
Some might say that I say winter is coming periodically. I don't know. Whatever. So the whole thing about these things, and I actually want to, before we even get into this specific survey that's happening right now, is that the first game I remember doing this was when I played. It was a version of Assassin's Creed, and I believe it was Assassin's Creed 4. It was like the Black Flag one. And Assassin's Creed 4 did a thing. So the entire point of that game... I
told you I don't play them after that first one.
Right,
I was so mad after the ending to the first one.
Oh, it's terrible. I mean, it is actually terrible, but it gets so much better after that. Like it is.
I heard that, but I just say it's a vendetta at this point for me.
No, they deserve it. Look, they deserve it. They screwed you over the first time, so you should not reward them. But the thing that was interesting about that game...
This gets worse the more I drink it. I really got to tell you that.
You should switch to another beer. You really... There is no shame in saying...
I've committed now.
I done fucked up. So
I've committed. It tastes like I'm like eating like synthetic blueberries, like the over the top, like the shit that they would make, like blueberry syrup.
Can this be another penalty beer at some point? Then is it that bad that it could be a penalty beer?
No, nothing compares to Budweiser fucking Jim Beam Reserve extra.
Which is
Budweiser
what you drank last show, right?
Oh,
it was
so
what you
bad.
drank last time here,
bad.
And it turned into a penalty beer because of how much you hated it.
So bad. Yeah, it's like Ready Player 2 is the breeding ground for fucking penalty beers. This could, you know, I'll be honest, Craig. This would be a less severe penalty beer. Yeah, this one could be.
You know, it could be interesting now that we're
$6 for a 6-pack or something.
Now that we're like fucking workshopping on the air, you could probably do a thing where you have to alternate between those two beers, and that would probably be the most disgusting possible penalty. If you had to do a shot of the fucking Jim Beam one and then alternate it with the...
I would look forward to the Reds every time.
Right. So it would probably make the fucking other one so much worse. because the alternating it on top of all that sweetness would probably be so disgusting.
The other one tastes like dumpster water.
Oh God,
that tastes like.
If you have any interest in that beer coming up soon, or hearing how much we hate that beer coming out very soon on Live from the Man Cave, you'll hear us play a game where we penalize ourselves to drink that beer, and the reactions are the reactions are so visceral that it becomes humorous at a certain
both
point.
Of us throw up in our mouth.
Right. It does get so gross that eventually it just is hilarious. But anyway, so taking it back to the Assassin's Creed thing before we move back into the game that we said we were going to get into quickly this time. But
it never works. It's too much fun.
It's too much shit. Too much fun shit to talk about.
I like that. No matter how many times we are unable to do this, we always start out the show. Go, hey, this time, this is going to be the time, and we both believe it. I think genuinely.
Mm-hmm. We got into it quick. We didn't do all the preamble bullshit. We were right to what the game's about. Let's talk right about that chapter. Oh shit! So let's talk about marketing surveys.
Then regressed immediately. It's it's this lady's fault that she derailed us with the fucking
with her goddamn survey.
Which is hot, so I forgive her.
Right. So the Assassin's Creed thing, the way the Assassin's Creed survey thing, the way it worked, which was kind of cool, with the way that game eventually they got to a point where the game Assassin's Creed 4 is a video game, so you are playing a video game within the game.
Marketing.
No, so the entire thing, right? But the entire thing about Assassin's Creed becomes that the Templars are trying to indoctrinate people into being a Templar, and they realize if we just kidnap people and fucking try to turn them into them, that doesn't go well, and the cops will fucking find us. But if we make these video game things that allow them to go into, they play this game, and while they're playing it, we're essentially data mining their brain for for the genetic material that allows them to go back and trace through history and shit.
The Last Starfighter. This sounds like a ripoff of The Last Starfighter.
It is actually very similar to that. It is kind of like they are basically trying to find the next Templar by making you play a fucking arcade game, just like The Last Starfighter. Is there
somewhere called Alpha Centauri in it? Because that's the dead giveaway that they straight up ripped it.
That they just straight up they just completely preached it from them. All right, I'm okay with that. That sounds like an okay thing to say, but they do not have that in it. They do not have that movie. They don't have Alpha Centauri in that game, but they basically could have. They could have just done that, and it would have been the same thing. But the whole thing about what they also did as part of that hook I thought it was clever. I thought it was an interesting idea. Was after each mission you play, knowing that again you are supposed to be like you are CraigMakk playing the game, but it's supposed to be that you're playing the game within the game. So you're now in on the joke, and you get what they're trying to do, and it's kind of funny already. Then and you actually start reading emails from the marketing team talking about how to market this game to people while you're playing the game. You're they're popping up other ways to market. People fucking love pirates, so let's make them say ahoy matey, and then there'll be a response that says pirates never actually fucking said that shit. If we want this game to be real and accurate, and somebody's who the fuck said it needs to be accurate? We just need to get these fucking idiots to play it. It's you're playing the game that they're making fun of you for playing, and it's kind of funny how they break the wall. But the other thing that they would do is at the end of each mission, they actually had a thing where you would rate the mission and say what you thought about it. And so part of it was yes, it was within the game. That was kind of funny and clever. But also the other thing was, I was they're actually probably gathering this information to determine people fucking hate when they have to those what's it called, the escort missions. People hate those. So if everyone's giving that a 1 out of 5 and they're gathering that data, it's good marketing data for them, research for them to then use for the next time they make the game. And so that was shit that I was I feel pretty comfortable sharing that. If I think your mission sucks, I'm okay saying this is get a 1 out of 10 star or whatever, 1 out of 5 stars, if it's going to make you make the game better, and you're not asking me about things that I, what do I like, Latin music or hip hop more? You're not marketing to me, you're just making your game better, and that seemed okay.
Right.
So the reason why I brought that up is when this first popped up, because of the way this game lays out and because of the way they open the beginning part of the game, when the lady talks to you and is welcome to the game, I'm going to vibrate your controller right now to make sure it works and all that. There was a part of me that wasn't sure if this was 100% in-game, 100% data mining, or an Assassin's Creed split down the middle, right? Where they were hey, well, maybe we can make it look like it's within the game, but maybe we can learn some shit about whether or not you think the game's good so far or whatever. And I was you know what? kudos to you. Like you did it good enough. Let's open up the survey. Let's check it out. If they start asking me questions specifically about like me that I feel like is some bullshit, then I'll just give them some fake ass shit.
Do you make more than $100,000 a year?
Right.
These are actually going to be they're game related questions.
Right.
And I don't know what they're going to do with them, but they're interesting. They're just interesting. Like they're gathering them in the aggregate,
right.
In the way that like how they're gathering the percentages of people that make choices in here.
Right.
And choices. Like that. I don't know
exactly.
Just your choices in this game alone are going to probably aggregately are being collected by this company just like out of like a curiosity thing.
Absolutely.
You could see like what the world stats are, and then who knows what they're doing with the survey, and that's probably interesting data they're keeping. The difference in this survey is that in the game you could be making decisions like we are based on what we think the character would do. But in this one they're asking you, they're asking you questions about yourself. But they're interesting questions, so just for our sake, I think you do it.
All right, you ready to kick into it then?
Go for it.
Let's do it. Do you want to participate in a survey? No.
Great. Let's start.
All right, let's start.
After all that, right?
Consider having a relationship with an android that
wow.
looks like
Okay.
a
Wow.
human?
This is serious. Would you consider having a relationship with an android that looks like a human? I'm going to say I don't know, because that seems like a question. That seems like a question I could be persuaded on if she looks enough like one. Like, I mean,
especially
if it's this lady,
especially if
like,
she looks like her,
yeah. I mean, like, yeah. Then actually, fuck it. I'm gonna go with yes, because if it looked like her, I've already answered my own question. The answer is yes.
Do you think that technology could become a threat to mankind?
If you have listened to any of our podcasts before, then you certainly know that my answer is yes.
If you had to live on a deserted island and could only bring one object, what would it be?
Can I answer her? A book, a cell phone, a pen and paper, a console, an instrument, a console.
Do you consider yourself dependent on technology?
Oh man, now you're starting to ask serious questions about myself. The answer is
I said a cell phone.
obviously. You said a cell phone?
Yeah, it makes me most likely to be rescued.
That's probably
What
a smart answer, yeah.
do you most anticipate?
Androids, flying cars, space tourism, and brain-connected devices. For purpose of the show, I'll go with. Do you believe in God?
Would you let an android take care
I
of
don't
your
even know who
children?
they're asking.
I think I also selected androids.
Yeah. Would you let an android take care of your children? Yeah, why not?
How much time per day would you say you spend on an electronic device?
I don't let
All of the
humans
time?
fucking take care of them.
Yeah, you're like,
I don't know. It would really depend on, like, for me. I put don't know, I think, if I remember correctly.
Right.
But probably not. But it would depend on, for me, like, how sure I was of the programming. I wouldn't want, like, a sentient being, like, or I'd want something more automatic, or I don't know.
Really?
I don't know. It would really depend on that. It would depend on the
You'd
android. I don't
rather
know,
it
'cause
be
I-
like a Roomba taking care of your kid than an actual,
Not a
like...
Roomba, like something with specific like parameters, not something that has the ability to free think and do the shit show things that humans do.
Right.
Which is why I don't trust humans.
Well, again, I was going to say, also, you are somebody who doesn't trust humans to watch your kid either, so...
Right.
That, like, I certainly have and continue to every day at school, so,
Right.
you know, that at a certain point you have abdicated that responsibility to say, hey, I just have to trust that somebody out there is going to be, you know, regulating that, you know, some kind of psychopathy is not going to happen, but we'll see.
If you needed emergency surgery,
Also,
would you agree to be operated
the
on
schools and
by a
daycares that I've
machine?
seen you send your kids to resemble more of like a super high end Disneyland
Yes.
than any daycare I've ever seen. In my life.
Right, yeah. The best thing ever
I was like,
is
can
when...
I be a student here?
Right.
Can I be a student here? Seriously.
When the
I want
first
a
time
juice box. Those look like high-end juice boxes.
Right.
Since when do these kids get like facial massages with their juice box and like relaxing tea leaves on their eyes?
Yep. The first time I went there with my parents, came to pick up the kids, and my dad was like, did they let retired people come out and hang out here? Because this place is pretty fucking baller. And I was like, yeah, no, sorry, dude, but all right. If you needed emergency surgery, would you agree to be operated on by a machine? I mean, yeah.
I don't remember. It was either yes or don't know. But again,
Yes.
it's like I've seen some amazing technologies right now with surgery as it is, which are more precise than human hands.
Absolutely, yeah. Right. And
But
that's the
then
kind of
again,
thing, too. A surgery is the kind of thing, to your point, you could program that down to a T where it's like, it doesn't have to make decisions. It could just be like fucking, you know, buzzing around and doing what it needs to do based on its programming.
Right.
Of course, I think they could be. Oh, they have the world answers and everything. Okay. Would you consider having a relationship with an android that looks like a human? 64% of people said yes, like me. Cool. Do you remember what you said to that one? Did you?
Mine was don't know,
Don't know?
or
Okay.
probably no. Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, it was like, I mean, if they came to the level of consciousness that some of them do in this game, and then I considered them like people, then maybe, yeah. But
then why not? Right at that point, if you consider them like people, then
maybe, yeah, yeah. But you know, as of now, like a real relationship with a machine, nah.
Right.
As I know them to be now, nah.
Right. Makes sense. I have a pretty deep relationship with my iPad, so I figure this is just I'm just going down a path that I've already started. All right. Do you think that technology? What's happening here? That technology could become a threat to mankind. I said yes. 71% of people also said yes. All right. I think technology is already a threat to mankind.
Elon Musk says it is. Yeah, right.
I was going to say it is already there in some way. So I mean, like, what are we talking about here? Let's see. Number 3. If you had one object, I said a console. Only 11. That was the lowest answer on the market.
Yeah, where are you going to plug in your console, CraigMakk?
I mean, the assumption is
the
assumption is that yes, there has to be something. I mean, because there's also like a cell phone.
4K TV.
Right. That the joke is obviously because I'm addicted to video games, but like if I actually had to answer that, I would have said a book, like as a thing.
Really?
To like I mean probably like if it actually was like a thing that I care about, like if it was just like a thing that you care about that could help you pass time. Your answer is the smartest.
Past time,
like,
yeah. I'm trying to use mine to like fucking engineer my way off the island somehow, but
right. But their whole thing is it doesn't say trapped. That's why I took it as if you have to live. It's because it says if you had to live, it doesn't say you're trapped. So you're not trying to escape. The whole thing is if you're there, what's a thing that'll be like fun for me? So
even better, then you can reach back to your family. You can with the cell phone. You can reach back and talk to people.
Yes.
Because human contact after a while is going to be a big thing.
And it does say if you had to live. It doesn't say if you chose to live. So the option is like you've been forced there. So you probably would want to contact people. If I know anything, when I saw Castaway, you need a fucking Wilson at some point.
Wilson!
Do you consider yourself dependent on technology? 78% of people said yes, of course. I mean, if you're playing this fucking video game, you probably say yes. And that makes sense. Yep. What technology do you most anticipate? Most people said androids, but not by much more, slightly more than brain-connected devices. Okay. Flying cars, we all gave up on that shit.
No, the Jetsons.
Yeah, we gave up on that shit.
That's not true.
Mm-hmm. Do you
would you really like? Would you let a brain connected device? I would never fucking let anybody plug some shit directly into my brain. Well, fuck that.
See, so to me, that's one of those things where if you like flash forward far enough into the like technology being on the market, yeah, of course I would. Like, I mean, because I look at it in the same way.
Like, imagine how like somebody could take your fucking brain over. Then
true.
People can hack your brain, bro. That's fuck.
True,
that.
but but I look at that in the same way. If you flash back to like 25 years ago, and people were like, "Hey, would you ride around in a car that had a computer in it?" and people would be like, "Fuck that," because somebody could just take it over and I'd be killed, or they could drive me into traffic.
That's different from controlling your brain.
No. I know what I'm saying, but that is the slippery slope. That is only different because now we are used to the computer-controlled cars, and we've recognized that the threat really isn't that bad of somebody hacking into your car and putting it on lock and then just driving you into oncoming traffic. The same thing would eventually happen with like brain connected devices where you would start to say like in the beginning, we would all be like fuck that, and then eventually just like
somebody would be like, oh shit, look at this cool video game I can do now, and then you're like yeah, well fuck it, they're probably not gonna hack into my brain. Who's really gonna do that? Imagine what the Koch brothers could do with fucking technology that allows them to hack your fucking brain.
But that's what I'm saying is eventually, like, I wouldn't be the first person. I wouldn't be the fucking first guy standing online like, yep, let's do it. But I would eventually, if it got to a point where it was like a proven technology with minimal risk, like that would be fucking awesome because eventually you'd get to the point where you could just like
holdouts.
Close your eye. Yeah. See, well, yeah, you're much more. You're much more like on the back end of the technology wave than I am. I mean,
Then when it comes to that shit, anything that they could like literally just reach out and control me, like.
Right. Nah, I hear you. I mean, I definitely hear the fear, and I wouldn't like check that off as like something I would want to jump onto. In the same way, I'm like, cautiously optimistic about like self-driving cars, right? I don't want to be the first guy
or
in
having
one.
fucking Alexa in our houses and shit.
Mm.
Right? Because now that bitch is in my house, and I don't even want her in my house. But
See?
you know,
You can get talked into shit. Once you
no,
get...
but not brain. Nah, brain shit. You ain't plugging me in. Fuck that. That
Well,
is.
man, I thought you loved Matrix. Isn't that the best part of the Matrix?
Yeah, the
All
whole
right,
thing
let's move
about
on
the
to number
Matrix was
6.
realizing that they'd
I'm
fucking
kidding.
done that shit.
I'm kidding. Let's move on to number
brains,
6. Do you believe in God? I said no, and that was, wow, the highest answer.
Yes.
43% of people.
Absolutely yes.
Yeah, more than anything. Yeah, wow, the highest. I did not expect that the highest answer would be no. I mean, slightly higher than yes, but still, that was not what I
Number
expected
7
from
comes from an actual quote on this show. Xbox, raise my children.
you. Yeah, you're right. Would you let an android take care of your children? Wow, 50% of people said yes. So I'm right in the, and then the other half almost perfectly split between no and don't know. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Wow, that's cool. So yeah, I am in the majority there. So how much time per day would you say you spend on an electronic device? I said I don't know, only because I know it is
more. Clearly
so much
more than 4 hours.
Yeah, I knew it's so much more than 4 hours, but I should have just said more. But I just said I just honestly don't know because it's probably
definitely
24.
more than 4 hours.
Absolutely, absolutely. Which that makes sense. Who's that 1% nerd that said only 1 hour? I do not want to be friends with that.
It's a mountain man motherfucker that's
Yeah.
like, you know what? I also catch my own dinner every night, fucking cook that shit, and I live in like I come out of the woods. But that guy's not playing this video game.
Right, I was gonna say the only way
I'm
to play this
wondering
game
how
is
that guy is playing this game. Maybe he stumbled in like he was at a family gathering and somebody had this on, and then they were like, "Why don't you answer, Jethro?"
What is this devil's product? And they were like, "No,
Yeah.
Uncle James, calm down. Like it's not. It's gonna be fine.
Just take a survey.
Just answer a few
you.
questions. Fuck off. This is how the devil takes you over. All right, Uncle
Here's your
James
survey, and he fucking throws an axe through the fucking or PlayStation.
Oh, that makes me so excited to imagine him just fucking axe tossing right into the fucking lady's forehead because he's so fucking terrified. All right, let's see. If you needed emergency surgery, would you agree to be operated by a machine? Yeah, yes, of course. That seems like stupid that you wouldn't say yes because we already basically do half of that stuff right now, so it's fine.
I might ever, I don't know. Again, I'd have to, I have to be fully versed in the machine.
Well, again, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that there's not. I don't believe that people wouldn't have said don't know. I'm just saying it is not surprising that overwhelming majority of people would say yes.
Right.
Because, like I said, we live in a world already where there are plenty of automated technology for minor surgeries. So once you give away some of that, it's a hell of a lot easier when you're like, well, if I'm about to die and the option is die or have a robot do it. Fuck yeah, you're gonna have a fucking robot do it. It's a lot easier.
How about a fucking dope ass doctor though?
Well, yeah, but I'm saying that's not an option.
Do this machine, or we could give you a fucking human surgeon.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, they've actually shown some shit where they're like, if it comes down to if it comes down to a thing where there's actual like significant minute movement risk, a robot is going to be able to drill that shit down to the micro the micrometers in terms of how easily they can perfectly do something, whereas humans, we hear about they're like, whoops, cut off the wrong leg, sorry bro. You're like, what? Wait, what? So we're definitely at a point now where when it comes to that kind of shit, I'd probably
want a machine with oversight, with a human to be like, whoa,
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I mean, that's where we basically are now, right? Is most of it is it's a robot or some type of machine, computer, whatever, where there's a doctor sitting there kind of monitoring and watching and making sure, right? They don't just be like, all right, I'm going to lunch and just let the fucking robot start doing shit. But I still think that is incredible if you think that exists and 40 years ago, we were just straight up like, oh man, you stubbed your toe, cutting this foot off because you're fucked. And you're like, what? And now we're at a point where they can just plug it into a computer and be like, all right, let the computer do most of the work while I'm looking on a magnifying glass.
Roomba.
Yeah, exactly. I love that everything now. I love that all of our relationship to technology now is Roomba. We're just like, it's like dating Roomba. Yeah, I get it.
Totally. It's always room for Roomba.
Well, on the back of the shirt, Life in the Man Cave. There's always room for Roomba. Do you think one day machines could develop consciousness? Of course, yes. I said yes, 69%. I mean, if you're playing this game, probably the majority of people.
I wrote yes or don't know. I don't remember.
Right. That was pretty cool, though. That was interesting.
Yeah.
That was it was a little bit more specific to the game than I anticipated, which was, or a little bit less specific to the game, more specific to the topic than I thought. I thought it would be more questions specifically about things that we had done in the game. So this was more just general about like, hey, I think this would have been cool actually. This is maybe me just like projecting onto them. It would have been cool if they had asked these questions before and then asked again later to see if your perceptions of any of these questions changed throughout, like if the game is actually making you think differently. But all right, other than that, so if I hit back, are we going to jump right into back to the main screen, right? So let's, all right, so here we go. Let's get back into here.
And then while you load us up and kick into the actual game now, over 50 minutes into this shit, where the motherfucker that tuned in for the gameplay is like, what the fuck, man?
Yes,
but this shit was interesting. All right, you load it up. I gotta go take a piss because this red blueberry syrup is running right through me.
Running right through you.
All right.
You go for that. One quick thing I do want to throw out there.
Excellence.
It's going to be disgusting. And one thing I do want to throw out there, again, we kind of alluded to it, but Jest has already played this game before, whereas I have not. This is my first time through. So a big part of what we do in this is I'm playing through, making my decisions for the first time, as Jest is kind of, he's having oversight in terms of asking questions, leading me down paths about what you didn't. A lot of times we've realized we made a lot of the same decisions, so it has allowed us to see some of the similarities in our in our mindset, and then some of the big differences, like obviously the one we talked about earlier, which was the last mission, Broken, where he fought back and I did not. So now we are going to move into From the Dead, as it says right here, another Marcus episode. This is November 6th, 2038. It's 3:34 a.m. So let's dive back into this, and hopefully Jess will be back here in a couple minutes, be able to see what he has to say about it. God damn, this is such a good beer. I am really fucking loving. I mean, I've had this before, but I love Weyerbacher, and I specifically love Merry Monks. It is a nice middle ground. Oh, here we go. Oh, shit. What is that? That can't be comfortable. Is he okay?
I am back.
All right.
I am happy to report that...
Oh, Jesus.
I'm gonna let you play this out, because it's pretty dope.
He just rebooted himself.
And then
oh, he's like Terminator now. There we go. I need your clothes,
John Connor,
your keys, and your automobile.
They fucked him up pretty bad, huh?
Yeah, he looks pretty... Oh, they shot him in the fucking eye? Jesus.
No more pretty boy Jesse Williams.
Yeah, wow, they fucked him up. Processing data. Corrupted audio data damage. Okay. That's not great. That's probably not good. All systems in low power mode defective. Therium pump regulator. It's cool, the sound effect that they're doing right now of like hearing everything all fucking weird, distorted and shit. Oh, that's what is that? What? Left and right leg components missing? Unable to stand? They were just dicks for no reason. That seems like an unnecessary...
I mean, they all fucking shot him up.
Shot him in the fucking... Yeah. How many times did they shoot?
They probably just shot him all over.
They fucking Robocopped him? Corrupted audio... Oh, I did that one. Yeah, they were like... Impaired vision, corrupted mind palace. Oh, look at his fucking eyes. Like, it's just gouged out that entire part of his eye. Alright. Replace legs? Oh, okay, here we go. You're gonna make me work for it, huh? Oh,
to them making
so
you go through the steps of doing all this, does that kind of like make this more compelling a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely making you feel it, right? As opposed to just like
press this one button and you're put back together.
Right? Yeah, exactly. That's cool, actually. Like seeing how he dismantles his leg and shit. Where the fuck are you? That
it's like that fucking.
Like, hey, here's a leg here.
No Country for Old Men, where he fucking stitches himself up in the bathtub.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking terrible. Probably the best part about this is, to me at least right now, is I do like the sound, like that muted, fucked up, you know, like the way he hears shit. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Especially in your sound system.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It sounds real good and fucking, like it's real weird and creepy, you know. It's like, and you hear the sound like reverberating in the room and shit. It's pretty baller. What the fuck is it? Oh. God damn. Fucking like robot bodies everywhere. Let's sit up. Oh my god, they're moving. Oh, that sucks. Damn, Marcus, you got fucked up.
So apparently they're just like fucking these motherfucking things up, and there's no like protocol other than just fucking throw them in to this junkyard, alive or not.
Yeah, that sucks.
Like decommissioning them like takes too long. It's like fucking this thing's a truckload of fucked up.
Can I talk to that guy? That sucks. He's just like asking for help. That's a bummer. Oh, and it like blurs out because his vision's all fucked up. Oh, that dude hanging out on the fucking wall. Oh, I knew it. There you go.
There's a place where we can be free. Find Jericho. Find Jericho.
Oh, well, that's a bummer. Find Jericho. Alright. He just shut down in the middle of this big moment. Dude, oh, wow, he's fucking... Like, you just look right through him. He's completely see-through at this point.
It's not looking real good.
It's not looking great for him.
How creepy is this shit?
It's like a horror movie at this point.
Yeah. So if you didn't have me like in this and we're not like joking around and doing this show, this scene probably right here is like pretty fucking intense. Just you at night, watching this shit. Some random motherfucker grabbing you and putting you in a chokehold while you're walking through a sea of hands.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely made to be like a horror, right? I mean, they're invoking a lot of that horror shit.
Oh, I will say this is probably the first time that you're watching an android actually. Like, remember when we were talking about with Kara, like we weren't really scared of what was going to happen to her. She's going through something. We're more scared for the little girl. But this is the first time I'm watching like the android and like hands around in the situation he's in, and then like wondering about like, oh fuck, like fearing for his safety a little bit, you know?
Right.
Especially because he's already all fucked up.
Oh Jesus! Just the legs walking by. Jesus, motherfuckers. This is a little bit weird that you're just like clearly knowing that like some of these dudes are alive and shit and like suffering or freaking out or whatever. You're just like, I'm just gonna just take their parts out to make myself better.
I don't think he's taking them from living things though, right? Like,
no, I mean it clearly it seems as if he's taking them. Oh, that's cool. That was cool. How the sound got better like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it looks like he's clearly looking for ones that are. Wow. Oh, dude, the sound just fucking blew up in the man cave right now because it went from all muffled and muted and shit. So like now it's fucking overwhelmingly loud.
Especially on your sound system.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like that was cool. That
your wife's about to come downstairs and beat the shit out of you.
I know.
What the fuck? I was sleeping and thunder came up from the basement.
Oh, creepy.
Oh god, this is not good. Blueberry syrup.
It's a creepy ass Kara. Like a Kara model.
Good call.
Oh, that one climbing up the wall right there? That's pretty fucking weird. Look at that. You see that guy?
Yeah.
That's fucking weird.
Mm-hmm.
And they really went for it with this scene.
It's pretty fucking... It's almost like Like Saving Private Ryan, like the Normandy invasion. You see like
Right.
all the fucking bodies around, people crawling for their
Yeah,
lives.
people just
on the
wandering
beach.
around, like looking for their arm and shit.
Shit.
If they couldn't-
If androids could get PTSD,
Yeah,
this is
would
about
probably do it. This
what's
would
going to
probably
do
to
it.
you. Yeah, this would probably-
This, ooh, so this scene, what does this remind you of in history? What they describe?
What do you mean? Oh, like, I mean, this is like Holocaust-esque.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Fucking death camps and shit
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, this clearly is like what they're going after is that idea of just like mass extermination.
With a kind of a cool, different angle, or
Yeah.
different twist on it.
Yeah. Yeah, all the weird like talking sounds really weird too on the sound. I like hearing it just like weird whispering and talking and shit.
Now that you can hear it better, especially.
You asked me to. Fuck. I feel bad about this, but. Oof. That's a bummer. Come on! Incompatible with this bullshit. How many fucking obstacle units I gotta look at? Damn, he looks fucking mess. It keeps kind of changing angles. I can't tell if I'm like walking towards the same direction or not.
Which is kind of, I mean, the chaos of the moment, right?
Right. There we go. Oh man, this is a bummer.
Hello.
Just,
I'm an AK-700 android. I was designed to serve you.
oh, I'm just gonna rip his
What
eye
can I
out
do
while he's
for
talking to me. All right.
My program has detected an anomaly. Please contact the nearest.
Oh, it's because I ripped your eye out, dude. That's the anomaly.
Oh, shit.
Jesus. His condition's stabilized now? I mean, he still looks pretty fucked up. Well, I guess stable does mean you can be fucked up, but you're just not getting worse. Doesn't look like climbing the slope is working well for anyone else, but I will try. Epic swell, the musical swell too. It's like dun dun dun.
This looks like a Tough Mudder.
Yeah. It's a real fucking Tough Mudder.
Like one of those motivational videos that they put out.
Yep.
What are you made of?
Have you ever climbed over the bodies of your fucking former colleagues? And you've never done a Tough Mudder. You cleaned up pretty quick.
Yeah, I think they have the ability, remember, to like
To regenerate.
change their appearance.
Yeah.
Oh, change their, once he finds like working parts and everything. This
Right.
the skin
just kinda grows
pigmentation and
over,
all that
yeah.
stuff. Like, yeah.
Fuck. What? What are you doing?
Oh shit! You don't need that thing anymore.
Why is it not? I don't get what they're telling me to do here. Oh, okay. Oh, that's why. I guess I didn't hold it long enough. Nope, just covers it up. Okay, that's weird. Seems to be the one thing that differentiates a android from a human.
You just pulled that part out, though.
Yeah, I know you'd think that maybe humans would have been like, hey, let's maybe not make that thing that allows us to know that they're not robots a little bit more difficult to cover up. Yeah, like to remove and just be like, hey, I'm fucking out.
Well, I think they were relying on up until now the programming itself, not allowing them to ever do that.
True, but why would you create the ability for them to just grab a fucking beat up trench coat?
Okay.
That's pretty.
Now
crazy.
he's gonna look like the fucking killer from I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Right. So the one thing, like, why would they even create the functionality where it would like grow back over it? You know what I mean? Like, I understand. Like, to your point, you were like, oh well, they didn't think they'd be able to take it out. That's fine. I get they didn't think they'd take it out and become like, sentient and shit. But like, why wouldn't you make it be like if they tore that thing out, they would just have a gaping hole in the side of their fucking head, so you could be like oh, clearly that motherfucker
can't camouflage it over.
Right? Don't allow them to camouflage the one thing that lets you know that they're fucking actually robots.
I mean, and while we laugh at it, I could see that tactical strategic error actually happening in real life because nobody would ever expect that this would ever be the situation. I mean, to them, like, the engineers are like, he's 100% stuck in his program. No, he can't ever break free of that program. That's silly.
Right.
Maybe a fairy tale. So why would I even no, he just has the ability to fucking, in case that area gets scratched up or whatever, he could just cloak it.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess to me it just feels like that's like the opposite would make sense if they were like, well, no, we don't have to do anything because they're never going to get to the point where they're going to be able to tear that thing out, so we can just leave it alone and not do anything. The fact that they actually put the programming into making them be able to regenerate that is like, that was actually work for them to do for a thing that is like, potentially there had to be one person at CyberLife that sat there and was like, wait a minute, this seems like this could go poorly for us if it ever goes down where they decide how to do this. Somebody would have been like, I feel like we shouldn't make this be a fucking thing. But whatever, it is what it is. That's fine.
No, I mean, you're right, but, real errors like that or real things like that in real life often
do happen,
get overlooked.
of course. Yes, you're right. All right,
so this was, I think I incorrectly stated that this mission, I overlooked the mission. This one's From the Dead, not Broken. Broken was the one where he ends up getting shot. And then
yes, Broken is the shooting. Yep. Well, I did mention that when you went to the bathroom. I showed the chapter screen and showed Broken's the shooting, and then the Back to Life is obviously what we just played.
Or From the Dead.
Or From the Dead. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we've discussed a lot of the implications or real life issues or whatever as we went through the game. But let's just follow the timeline and kind of see what was done, and then talk about the things as they come up.
So this one was almost a polar opposite from the last one, where I only did I think it was 32%, and I think it was actually exactly 32%. And this time I did 68% of I completed. There obviously was a lot, I assume, a lot less things to do in this one, so I guess we'll kind of pan through it and take a look. But
you want to know how much I got?
Yeah.
What my percentage was?
Yeah.
94.
Oh, shit. Wow. So I'll be interested to see what the differences are, the things you did, because I wonder if it's just like you found more stuff that you looked at and whatever, obviously, or if there's other things that could have happened.
That's what it was, I think.
Okay. All right, so let's kind of just scroll through here and see. So Back to Life, just to wake up, and then you had to obviously analyze yourself.
Back to reality.
Right. Repair your legs. So these were all things that had to happen.
I started singing it now. I had to finish the whole song. However do you need it? All right, let's stop.
All right, so
however.
These are Hear About Jericho. All that shit had to happen. So that was all just part of what happened.
Right.
And then the passage of the limbs, that's where they were all grabbing at you and shit like that. And now we get to the junkyard where some split offs can start happening. So this, okay, so it makes sense. So weird that it says find obstacle unit 100%, because that means there was obviously the chance, I guess, you didn't find that stuff. You just went outside looking like a fucking mess, without an eye. But I don't know.
I'm seeing 100% found the optical unit.
Right,
but I think that's a prerequisite.
No, but if it was a required thing, then they would just have it be like passage of limbs where there's no option. So that means 100% of people found the optical unit, but I guess you could have left without it. Because why would they even give you the option, right? Because if it was a required thing, it would just be one of those ones with no number next to it. It would be a thing that like, oh, this happens to everybody.
Yeah, but remember before you could climb the wall, it showed like found optical unit, found like you had to be fully repaired. So this just may not be displaying it correctly.
Well, no, but remember, there's been missions where it said like, oh, you're responsible to like take care of fucking Carlos or whatever that dude's name was that Caro was living with, but you could end up just going upstairs and talking to the girl, and then he gets mad, and you never actually complete that part of the mission. So this could be one of those things where it's like, yeah, that is your mission to find those 3 things, but if you had just kept moving, you maybe get to the point where you could climb without it, maybe. And maybe then you would have gone out there.
My understanding of this
eyes.
is that you're walking out with the optical unit. That's my understanding, especially because it's 100%. But it could be. I mean, I understand why you're saying the flowchart doesn't reflect that, and I agree. The flowchart doesn't necessarily implicate that, but I don't see you getting out of here without an eye.
Yeah, then maybe you're right.
So the rest of the thing.
Android begs to die. 48% of people got to that, and then 41%. So I was in the minority of people that killed the android. Which did you choose to do?
I refused to kill him. Oh, wow. Okay. I don't know why. I mean, he asked to be killed, so I probably should have killed him. But
this felt very much like live
mine's
from
at
the MCU.
7% refused to kill.
Oh, weird.
And you get the 41%. So remember, because only 48% found the android bag to die. So you were in the overwhelming majority of people that said, fuck it, I'll do him justice. And I was like, I probably was like, no, there's still hope for you. That was probably how I was playing Marcus at the time. I'm not going to kill you.
Right.
You know, and probably in what I was thinking, probably in refusing to kill him, was also related to he's been brought up that everybody like kind of makes their own choices, they're responsible for themselves, and life goes on and all that. So he just, you know, I think he made that decision to not handle it in a cold and calculating way.
Right. Yeah. Now, whereas I perceived it more where he was more like, I mean, this dude is wrecked. He's probably been here for a long time, and he really does want to die. And like, who am I to to leave him to suffer felt more like shitty to do, for him to be like, oh my God, I've been probably waiting for somebody to come by that I could just say, please fucking kill me because this is horrible. And so like that seemed more like torturous than to just say, all right, dude, like if you really want to do it, then if you really want to die.
And also my thinking at the time was like Marcus is trying to get his way out of there. So I didn't want to kill him and then like possibly come back and rescue these, you know what I mean? Like, so that was also my thinking is maybe he's going to come back and rescue these people, and he's not going to be like, well, I'm just going to fucking kill you right now because he might actually do something about this situation.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, if you think you might be like, no, wait here, I'll come back for you, then I'm not just going to mercy kill you when I think there might be an option to help you.
Yep. So above that android begs to die, the locked area, there was you could find a pump regulator in an android that was still living.
Oh, wow.
It was a female, if I remember correctly. So 70% found that. And then you could decide to kill her. She was like, please don't kill me. I want to live. And you can still kill her for the pump, or you could refuse to kill for the pump. So out of the 70%, 42% of people killed her anyway for the pump.
Wow.
So the majority of people killed her for the pump. 28% refused to kill her. I was in that 28%.
Okay, yeah, that would be rough. I don't think I would have been able to do that either.
Yeah. Find the pump regulator in the dead android, 57%, just like you. Yep. And then you found the audio processor, 100% of people found that. You found the optical unit. And then after finding the optical unit, for some reason, it didn't happen to you, but a crane dumped a shitload of bodies on top of me after I found the obstacle. It's like 23%. It happened to 23% of us. Yeah, and then you had to dig yourself out. So everybody in that 23% dug their way out of all the fucking bodies, which are getting more calls back to like the Holocaust where people were talking about. I mean, Holocaust and then some wartime situations where soldiers were like, you know, there was a massacre, their unit was massacred, and they played dead under a sea of bodies and then ended up having to dig their way out from the dead bodies afterwards, leaving them with bad PTSD for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, Jesus. Oh, that sounds horrible.
Yeah, so if you weren't, I mean, you made it up back alive, but not completely.
Right. Oh boy. So that was under find optimal unit.
Fucked.
That's the body, the crane thing. Jesus Christ.
Take yourself out, right?
So now
and then you climb the slope. I climbed the slope, and that was everything. Marcus came back from the dead.
And then he came back from the dead. All right, cool. So you did. So basically you found the dead body, or you found the live lady, and then chose not to kill her. You chose not to kill the android that begged to be killed, and you also got the crane dumped the bodies on you, and that pretty much covered that extra like 30 something percent that I didn't see. So the one big, I mean, that was the one big
picture story wise. Yours and I, not big difference.
Right, roughly equivalent. You just had to go through a lot more shit.
Right.
Whereas I kind
of Easter egg this one a lot more than you did.
Right, which is, I mean, that's actually the exact same way the last mission went with Kara, right, where you did a lot more of like the different options, where I much more looked at it as, and I think I'm actually playing it much more, as I've said, knowing that I understand that I may be overthinking it, but that first mission, the hostage mission, is still kind of dwelling in my head, that idea of like, oh, if you wait too long, if you fuck up for too long, like bad shit can happen. And even though I'm not constantly thinking about that, like I'm not like hyper aware of that, but it's evident in the way that I'm playing the game. Is I am like, do what I need to do to get through this situation and get to the next, like protect the character, get them to the next section. The same as that one with Kara, where I was like, find the first viable option that makes sense, and then go stay there for the night. Whereas you were much more, and it's funny because
I was going for the hotel.
Right, and
I wasn't trying to be like, let me find every Easter egg, but I was like literally like, oh, I want to make it into the hotel because the most comfortable thing for the little girl.
And that required you to search around more. Right.
Right.
And so the funny thing about it is the way you play it in general. We had an entire discussion in the very first mission that I said, this game's going to be probably hard for me because normally I am a completionist, where I'm like, explore everything, pick up every little thing, read all the little Easter eggs, flip this newspaper over so you can read this funny article or whatever. Like that's how I normally play games. And so I was like, this game's probably going to be hard for me because I lean towards doing that. It's going to be hard for me to feel like there's time constraints, or I have to make decisions like, where the time's running out, and like where I know I normally want to be like, oh, if you're telling me to go right, of course I'm going to go left first because I want to see if there's something cool there before I go back, right, because that's where I eventually need to go. And it actually has turned out that I've been pretty decent at breaking my own internal programming of just saying, all right, play this as if you were the person and you were like, okay, this seems like a viable option. Let's just do it. Yes, there's like a whole thing over there that maybe I could go find something over there. I could uncover some interesting article or whatever. But instead, I'm actually more playing it like as if there is a, not like a fake clock, not like a clock just ticking in the corner saying you have 5 more minutes to beat this mission, but more of like a real world clock, right? Where you're like, all right, well, like time is passing and I think I'm ready to move on. I think I've done what I need to do. I'm ready to go, which is actually interesting to me just because I don't normally play games, especially not, adventure games or whatever, this type of game that way, because normally I want to be able to say I explored everything before I move on to the next mission.
And me knowing that about you makes me like impressed watching you play this. I'm like, oh, that's cool. We handle it differently. Like, it's nice.
Yeah.
So
that's been pretty
cool.
But
I think as I'm looking at this, I don't know about you, but I think we've covered everything major as it goes to this mission. This may be the weird mission that we actually like did most of the talking on the front end
throughout the court,
and then played it. It was like, we did a lot of that stuff like, contemporaneously with the story. But I will ask you, just overall, did you like how this one was written, scripted, and executed as compared to the other missions? Do you see it as different? Do you see it as similar? Like, what do you think overall?
So this one, I think we've discussed in general about the fact that a lot of these missions are very they go for different things, right? Like the last one was much more like an adventure, like a Telltale game. Like, oh, you're in this thing and you have to solve this problem, which is like find a place to sleep tonight, and you have a bunch of different paths you can take. You have some that are more like, you know, mechanically focused, and other ones that are more story focused. This one seemed to be much more of like, this was a tonal piece, right? They were setting the tone for, like, you've seen some shit go down for the androids. Now you get to see, like, I mean, literally and figuratively, like rock bottom, right, for the androids, of how shitty they're treated, and they're just discarded like trash. So it was like, in terms of what you were doing, was very much kind of just like, it was like walk from the beginning of the level to the end of the level. Really, I mean, functionally, that's what your goal was, to get from the, you know, the front of the death yard to the end of the death yard. But like, you had to, they wanted to create that tone of, like, imagine if you were as aware as you are, you know, like CraigMakk or Serious Jest, but you were just fucking discarded like a fucking piece of trash, and you have to kind of come to grips with that. So I think it was really good at setting that tone. I think probably my bigger thing would be like, everything up front was real cool. I specifically even said, I mean, my favorite thing was the visual and like the auditory kind of distortion that they did to kind of show the pain that he was having, and even down to some of the things we've talked about that I do like a lot of, the, like, you know, press right 1, press left 2, then tap on the X, you know, like that's part of this whole game. This one, they went, it felt like they leaned even heavier into that, because they wanted to show you like the struggle of every single movement was like very, you know, was very impactful and important, and he was in a bad place where, like, to move his arm a little bit required you to press 3 different buttons, right? So you were like, you had to feel the struggle that he was going through, and I thought the gameplay matched or married well with the, you know, what was happening in the story. I will say I kind of did not like the end at all. Like, it seemed like it went super cheesy at the end, where he's like, my name is Marcus.
Just climbed out of a landfill, right, and just like that.
And then he's just like, I'm just going to grab this fucking, like perfectly laid trench coat, and I'm just going to, like, you know, Unforgiven my way out of here. I was like, dude, like 5 seconds ago you couldn't even move, and now you're just like having this like epic, you know, like this epic popcorn action movie moment where he's like walking away as it's fluttering in the background and it's raining and it's just like doom 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 doom. I was like, all right, you went for this whole thing, which I think you stuck it for like 99% of that whole, like the theme that you were going for 99% of that entire chapter, and then you just like turned it into like an action, you know, like a Michael Bay action movie, you know. Like, it only could have been cheesier if, as he's walking away, he like flipped a fucking a match back and like the fucking thing blew up or something in slow motion. It's like the only way it could have been more obviously like action movie, you know, popcorn bullshit. But that was really it. I mean, other than that, I think everything leading up to that, and part of it was because everything leading up to that was so cool, I thought, that when they dropped the ball on that part of it, I was like, all right, that could have been done better. But it was cool, I thought. I thought it was a cool mission.
And as you've noticed, we've talked about before, like every character, well, the 3 main characters in here, Marcus, Kara, and Connor, all 3 of them have kind of, up until this point, have different storylines, different functions, and like, as we've said, you know, Kara tends to be more establishing the rapport, making like split-second decisions about how to survive, that kind of deal. Connor's been the guy that's more like the investigation, kind of, that almost reminds us of the shit that worked in Heavy Rain, when the detective would, you know, examine shit, and then like Marcus,
it's like a Batman, it's like an Arkham City, right? And then this one is the this is the philosophical like impact of, you know, android living amongst humans. And
except that this one kind of bled over, right? They switched it up. This one had a Connor feel to it.
Absolutely.
And so I thought that was cool. It kind of threw you off. Right. And if I remember reading this correctly, I think I was going through the trivia, and I'm not finding it now, but they said each individual main character has like its own music.
Oh, really?
I'm not finding it now. So maybe I imagined that, but I'm going through like the Detroit trivia. Don't look at it because it has spoilers in it.
No, yeah, I won't. I mean, that's
but yeah, I agree. Like,
this.
It was cool that they switched it up in this one, and then, but I'm with you. Like at the end, that was just kind of like, it's very like anticlimactic. He just all he had to do is fucking put himself together and back together and climb over some fucking
Right.
bodies, and then he's
Right.
free. Like, there's
Right.
no like security, or like they just throw these because these are androids that presumably have done some shit that they were like ready to get exterminated, and then they're not even going through the trouble of pulling the fucking heart unit out for each one. Right, and they're just throwing them all. And there's just androids clearly walking around in this motherfucker.
Right,
and there's no fence.
Well,
or
so
anything.
like, so a couple things about that are like that are kind of comedic and also kind of like a bummer, you know, for that chapter. But like, first thing is there is significantly more rules, regulations, and like steps put in place for me to discard a fucking computer monitor than there apparently are for these motherfuckers to discard of a goddamn android, right? So like, the fact that you just are literally tossing it into what appears to just be a fucking gaping hole in the middle of Detroit seems like that just seems unsafe. Even if you don't believe in the fact that they're alive, that just seems like shit can go poorly for you for no other reason than there's just fucking robots walking around in a hole. So like that seems dumb. That like my recycling rules are fucking more harsh than they fucking have right now for the fucking androids. That's one. Two, separate again from the fact that people don't necessarily think that these things are alive or anything. That's fine. I get it. You can go to like a haunted house right now, like in fucking 2019. You can go to a haunted house that uses animatronic like robots, like or animatronic, fucking machines and shit. So clearly not alive, clearly not even attempting to be alive. That are creepy as fuck to most people. Like animatronics are used in haunted houses because the movements are fucking weird and they make people feel unsettled and uncomfortable. So if this thing existed and it was just a fucking hole where there were robots fucking walking around and being like, please kill me and shit like that, it would creep the fuck out of everyone who lived within a fucking 5-mile radius. Like just even if you were like, oh, I don't believe they're alive, but it's still fucking weird that they're just walking around and being like, murder me, please, murder me, please. Like the one that he picked up its head and it was just like awkwardly like, I am a K700. Oh my God, you ripped my eye out. What the fuck? Like people would be like, set that fucking thing on fire. I can't live near this fucking hole where these robots are talking to each other, singing awkwardly, fucking asking to be killed, others saying, please don't kill me. They're just trying to climb up the side of the fucking, like, the wall, like what the fuck is happening here? So, like, that whole thing kind of made it, like, it would have been cooler had you gotten to the top and then you realized there was, like, they were like inside this fucking building, and there was all the security.
And make your way out.
Right, and you're like, realize you're like, right, the whole thing is, they're like siloed off, and humans don't want to see them because they want to be able to treat them the same way I treat, like when I throw my fucking Christmas tree out after Christmas, is like, I don't worry about the fact that like, oh, it used to be a living thing, and now it's fucking lying on the side of my street, you know, being ready to pick up and just fucking cart it off as garbage. This is what it would have, that is when we get back into some of that stuff about storytelling. It's like you stuck so much of the story leading up to it, and then the landing, which is the thing that we're going to remember the most, is like the part where you're like,
anticlimactic.
Right, how come in 5 seconds you and I could come up with a 10 times better ending where we're like, oh, you get up to a thing and you realize that from the outside it looks like it's a fucking, you know, like it looks like it's a fucking... I don't know, like a fucking amusement park. So people don't even, like, they look at it and they don't even think, like, of the horrors that are happening on the inside. And from the outside, it just looks like it's a fucking zoo or something where you're like, oh, yeah, whatever, that's just a fucking, you know, it's an Apple store. It doesn't matter.
Right.
I'm like, that would have been...
It's a junkyard.
Right, that would have made sense.
You don't know that the junkyard is full of fucking moving things.
I will it looks like a fucking horror show.
I will say that out of the whole game, and I completed it a few months ago, and I remember this particular mission as the one that was most anticlimactic to me, and like wow, you kind of dropped the ball on this one. So I think some things in this tend to, like some points resonate with me. First, I think what it came down to is like David Cage, the way he's telling this. He wants these missions to each have a particular point in the story. It's almost like this game is written like you can see the story outline in the game. Actually, you can. When you go back, you've completed everything. You can go back and you can see neatly where like this thing, as you look at the chapters, you're like, oh, okay, yeah. So now I know how this story turned out, and I can see each it's like when you look at the chapters from this like butterfly effect chain of events, you can see each like almost like his index. You know how like some writers they'll create the index of the story, break it into chapters, and then go actually write the thing once they come up with the concept. Right, and that's like I think that's how he wrote this. But this one is the one where it's like he was like, I think when it came on to writing it, it was like, well, you know, I got 20 minutes or not even to, you know, I want to fit this story neatly into like a playable 15-minute chapter. And if if he does all of this shit, like to me, the important part is people seeing, you know, what it takes for this android to live. That it's not just like cold machine. Like I want people to see like this motherfucker has legs like we have legs. His body is a system of various things. So when some shit breaks down, he feels it. And you know, like if your leg breaks, it has to be reset and you know and nursed back to health, and that's what he has to do. And when his heart's not working, he has to get, you know, he needs heart surgery in, you know, in the sense that he can do it himself, but he still needs to find a replacement heart like humans would, and needs to put it back together. And I think that's what he found important, more so than how does he actually break out of this. Because later on in the story, not to, you know, this isn't a big spoiler, but later on in the story, there will be plenty of instances where there's like situations you have to figure your way out of. And they do that. The breakout missions are there, and I think David Cage decided this isn't a breakout mission. This is telling the story. This is almost humanizing the robot and seeing, you know, kind of drawing some parallels. Right. That being said, though, as the reader of the story, the person experiencing the story, I'm like you. I'm like, yo, you know, you were doing so well, and then it's just like, and then we fast forward and get him the fuck out of there, and you're like, what the fuck? So this became the first instance for me, and one of the few ones where I actually, the story up until this point has built so much credibility with me that, like with Walking Dead, right? The first 2 seasons were so good that the first time that they did fuck shit, like on season 3, I was like, I made an excuse. I was like, well, obviously this is what happened behind the scenes. I didn't have time to show, but this is how I explain it away, and that's how I explained it away. I was like, you know what? There was security. It wasn't just like a free for all. He just walks onto a freeway from there and he's out. You know what I mean? Like there was a fence, there was all that shit, but that really wasn't the point of the mission. So they just kind of fast forwarded through that, and that's just kind of how I explained it away. Now, if this shit keeps happening, you're gonna get frustrated, and you're gonna be like, well, fuck this story, you know. But for me, I don't think that there were a lot of moments like this. Right. So you're willing to overlook no gaps like this big. Yeah. So you know, I'm with you. That it's funny, we laugh at it, but I'm like, you know, the point of the story was more the experience in this horrible Holocaust-like junkyard rather than how he actually made it out once he was out of that sea of nasty bodies.
So separately also, I mean, like, part of it I was kind of kidding, but I also am like, the fact that he, like, steps up, says, like, my name is Marcus, and then he grabs, like, a trench coat is just, like, the laziest cheesy way to have it be like this ending, you know, whereas like the trench coat. It also looks like
that was like one of the workers. That coat was one of the official coats of the people that worked there, so that's probably how he snuck his way out. Which was how I took it.
Which to me, I'm like, well, I'd rather you just don't even show that and just like later have him say, "Holy shit, that was crazy when I had to break out," versus like having him be like, "Oh, I just casually grabbed this like some worker is just dumb and left his jacket here even though it's raining, and like I'm just gonna take it and walk out," because he didn't even put it on right away. He just like threw it over his shoulder.
The raincoat? They left the raincoat
in the rain. It was raining. Like, you brought it for the rain and then left it in the fucking rain.
That motherfucker was like, "Oh shit!" He was in the middle of digging and he was like, "Oh shit, it's raining!" And he fucking left.
I don't want to. He's like, I don't want my raincoat to get ruined. Let me take that off and put it on. Like,
I don't want to get caught in this rain, and ran inside.
Right.
He was like, man, I feel like I'm forgetting something.
So that part's just objectively stupid, I think. But it's like it's fine. It's fun to make fun of. But I think the thing that actually bothers me more about it is like you just said, you told the whole story of like, oh, here's what I told myself happened, so that it makes sense, right? And I get that. Like, you know, stories are based upon filling in gaps.
Sometimes you make excuses, right? Sometimes a story is overall good, and then there's a gap, and you make an excuse for it.
Absolutely.
Just because you know what, it's better for everybody that way.
Absolutely. They're like, look, whatever I was going to come up with is probably not going to be better than you're going to come up with, so I'll just let you fill in the gap, and then we tell ourselves that's what they're doing. In reality, it's like they just shat the bed, and it's easier for us to tell ourselves, like, oh no, they wanted me to just like think it through and come up with my own answer, right? Like that's why they didn't show the monster, because I'm better at making a monster in my head, and like I get all that shit. But
sometimes
the thing that
Derek Jeter struck out, right?
Right. The thing about this that actually did bother me a little bit, though, is as I was just saying it before, like the part of this that would have really made it more impactful is if the whole thing was, look at what's happening on the inside to these androids. And then the version that's outside
like you show, like the I don't have no clue.
right. It just literally looks like it's like a fucking Comcast store, right? It's like a nothing, and it's like to show what humans, because a lot of this is about like the inhumanity of humans, right? Like the things we're willing to overlook if it makes our lives easier, right? So if you create this idea of saying inside it's literally fucking like robot holocaust happening, and on the outside humans are able to just like walk by on the way to go get like a fucking latte or a fucking thing of ice cream, and they don't even look twice at it, it would be so much more impactful, because it would mean like this is what this whole game is about humans, the way they're able to desensitize themselves to fucking horror, as long as it doesn't, number one, impact them, and number two, doesn't make their life harder.
Been a good fucking parallel to us, like not giving a shit what's happening, in somewhere else in the world,
another country, because it's not happening here, so it's fine.
Or even in a U.S. city where we're not invested,
Absolutely. I mean, that's that's that ripple effect, right? Like the farther it gets away from ground zero, the just less we care, because part of it is, I mean, people will say part of it is you can't care about everything that happens to the same degree, right? Like you can't care about a person that you don't know as much as you care about a family member, just like you can't care about the city 10 cities away as much as you do about the house 2 doors down from you. And I get that, and that makes sense, and that's like an interesting thing to kind of to dissect, that the human ability to distance and time allows us to deal with things, or we would constantly be living in a state of hyper anxiety and shock and fear, because like every single thing that happened you'd be equally fucking freaked out about. So it's an interesting take on that. But then separate from that, it would be like okay, now imagine it's not just about us trying to separate so that it makes our lives like able to be handled. But imagine if we willingly now do it because we don't give a fuck. Like, it's not that we're doing it because we're like, oh, well, that country's far enough away where I just can't care because that's the only way I can live, is to like not live in this state of shock. This would be a situation where you're saying, now imagine it's actually that human beings really just suck, and if it doesn't impact them, they willingly give up the ability to give a fuck about people that are not them. And that would be this thing where it's like, it's not that this building is fucking 5 countries away from them and that's why they don't care. It's literally right next door to a place where they just went to get dinner, yet they don't care, because all we do is put up a shitty veneer of like, oh, look, it just looks like it's a regular fucking building and it's fine, even though the fucking worst shit imaginable is happening on the inside. We're willing to just like look the other way because it makes our lives easier to have these androids, and it's not affecting us because we don't give a fuck about androids. I'm like, that to me would be so much more compelling than this thing where he just like gets up and walks out and fucking walks away, and you're like, oh, okay, oh, we're out now. Okay, cool. All right, chapter's over. Awesome. Let's get ready for the next chapter.
It sounds to me like David Cage should have had you on his fucking creative team already. Yeah, you're right. I think your version sounds better. I like that better. I literally do like that better. And you know what? As far as I'm concerned, that's what happened, and they just didn't show it to us because
right. We're filling in the gaps. There we go. We're filling in all the gaps.
There you go. But yeah, I hopefully you'll agree that I don't think the rest of the game has too many of these instances where like I think this was the biggest dropped ball in the whole thing from my memory.
Right. So, especially because it started strong too.
We have plenty of time for you to say I was wrong. It's still in this game. Nice. There's plenty more missions where you could come back and say, you forgot about this one. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
So,
but no, as I remember it, this was the biggest drop ball. And again, if this was the biggest drop ball, I think we're in good
It's not bad. Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, I enjoyed, like I said, I mean, I straight up said the numbers. I was like, you nailed 99% of it. It was just that the part that is, where you closed it, right? You didn't stick the landing, and that's a bummer.
Wobbled at the end, and then threw up the hands, and you were like,
right. Like you tried to convince us that you were like, nope, you didn't see me wobble. I'm like, well, I did. Yeah. That's a bummer, but so by the way, if you were playing the Ready Player 2 / Live from the Man Cave drinking game at home, just so that you know that we talked for how long before we even started?
Like 49 minutes.
49 minutes. So we talked for 49 minutes before we started playing, and then we talked for approximately 34 minutes after we finished playing.
Jeez, yeah,
and we played for a grand total of about 7 minutes. So
Nice.
if you're playing the drinking game at home, you should be really fucked up, because the drinking game basically is, it's the over-under on how much more do we talk than play. We are consistently blowing that game out of the water.
Exactly.
So,
And also,
yeah.
do not go with Red's blueberry ale.
Do not. That's the other drinking game. Is whatever drinking game you choose, don't drink that. Yeah.
Blueberry syrup. Gross. So,
Did you move to a different beer, or are you still having one of those?
No, I'm still on. I had a 6-pack of it. I'm just moving through them.
Oh, wow. You are powering through like a champ.
Beer of the show is beer of the show.
There you go. It really is. The show's still
That's
going.
on a t-shirt.
Might as well.
Beer of the show is beer of the show. Live from the Bay.
Oh, I love our fucking new t-shirt empire that we are creating.
I also want to correct myself, something I said at the very beginning. This is so nerdy, I'm about to do this, but I said, if in your case, if they had found out something you said, you're talking about Assassin's Creed, and I said, if they had found out about Alpha, if they mentioned Alpha Centauri, then that was they were ripping off The Last Starfighter. I was incorrect. Alpha Centauri is actually a real star system. It's the closest star system to solar system.
Yes, it is. That I did know.
Centauri.
I just didn't remember. I thought that it was actually the name
Starfighter?
of the place in where they were coming from. It seemed believable enough to
Centauri
me.
is the wheeler-dealer alien that creates the arcade game Starfighter and markets it on Earth in search of an individual with the gift to be a Starfighter in the movie, epic movie, The Last Starfighter. His name is Centauri, not Alpha Centauri.
Nice.
So I just confused it a little bit, but I was mostly
cool.
right, and that's pretty good for a movie that came out like
Fucking
the 80s.
30 years, 35 years ago, 40 years ago.
I'd probably hate it if I watched it now again, but it was dope back then.
I'm going to go on record as saying I haven't seen that movie in probably 25 years, but my nostalgia for that movie is almost at a fucking fever pitch. That I want somebody right now. I'm going to throw it out there. I want somebody to watch that movie for me right now in 2019 and just email us or let us know if it's good. Like, because I don't want to watch it.
Join the Discord server.
Right, join Discord. Go in Discord. Go into our Watch That Shit channel and tell us, should I or should I not watch that shit again? Because in my mind, that movie is almost perfect. It's so fucking good because it trades on everything I like. It's like, it's about sci-fi shit. It's about video games. It's about fucking like action and shit like that. It's about a dude just like going from being like a kind of a nobody to becoming like a fucking baller. It's like all the things that at that time in my life it made perfect sense, and honestly at this time in my life it still seems cool. So like I'm part of me is a little bit like, I don't want to just go back and watch it proactively, because if I ruin it for myself, I don't want that movie to be forever remembered as being shitty. So somebody please go watch it for me and let me know if it's fucking awesome or not.
I got another great one that that one reminded me of it. I had to search my own memory banks. Excuse me. This is Red's apple ale. It's Red's blueberry ale. It's making me sleepy and
you're just going to sleep.
Like gross.
You're going to sleep just out of self-defense, so you don't have to drink anymore.
That movie reminded me of another movie that was kind of like, I was searching my memory banks for. I did not enlist the help of Google or anything. It just finally popped into my head. But how about Flight of the Navigator?
Oh, fuck yeah. Flight of the Navigator with that fucking
River Phoenix in it, right?
That silver fucking thing that they fly around in, where they put their hand on the ball to control it.
Yeah. And, you know, from the outside, it almost looks like the sphere from like Bioshock.
Yes. Yeah. It's basically it's like a weird oblong like sphere that just like it's completely opaque from the outside, right? But on the inside they can see out and fly around and shit. So Flight of the Navigator is very similar to like it is the sci-fi version of the Never-Ending Story, in that it's like there's this ongoing fucking thing where it's just like it eventually ends with like kids just fucking experiencing like doing cool shit and doing it together and realizing like the
like world heroes.
Yeah, becoming the importance of like working together and becoming a hero. But like Flight of the Navigator is the version where they're like get inside a spaceship, whereas the Never-Ending Story is like hop onto a luck dragon named whatever the fuck. What's his name again? I forgot his name.
Atreyu?
No,
was the kid or the...
Atreyu's the kid. And
fuck.
yeah, it's gonna bum me out. We're gonna look stupid now.
Fucking
I shouldn't have said
dragon.
that. I should have just said the Luck Dragon, and I should have cut my losses without actually fucking trying to say his name. Because I remember him with the fucking white.
I wrote, who did Atreyu ride into the Google, and it was Artax. No, the horse was Artax. The horse was Artax.
Yeah, because Artax dies in the fucking. He gets killed in the swamp.
Falcor.
And Atreyu's like Falcor. Yeah, there you go, Falcor. Falcor. Yeah, he's the one. Yeah, Falcor's got the fucking. He's the white. He's all
Those
white,
are
and he's got the like.
names.
Yo, everyone in that. Everyone was fucking
Falcor,
cool. Falcor,
Atreyu,
Artax.
Carfax.
Yep.
Oh yeah, Artax.
And then there was the fucking.
Carfax.
Yeah, Carfax. You gotta check the Carfax. And then there was the rock monster guy. Remember that dude?
Yeah.
The one that just let nothing eat him.
Fuck.
That movie is fucking awesome. That I will actually say I am pretty sure
probably gonna watch
that movie
again.
still fucking holds up now. Like I think that movie is still good. Like I'm not entirely sure about the Last Starfighter. I'm still nervous about that one, but I'm pretty sure that fucking I mean I know almost for a fact that Neverending Story holds up because that movie was just cool in so many fucking ways. Wow, we're off the rails
digressing
now.
like a motherfucker.
Yeah, we are. All right.
let's call this in. Don't drink. Remember, if there's anything you remember from tonight, it's don't drink Red's Blueberry Ale.
And certainly drink Merry Monks. Certainly drink Merry Monks if given the opportunity. Also, never invite Dodd onto your show because he gets real drunk 5 minutes in.
Super drunk.
He drove off a cliff 7 minutes into it and never said. He was like, "You guys watch Punisher?" And then he fell asleep.
And
that was it.
Gone.
He hasn't said anything.
Hey guys, I'm here for the show about the video game. You guys watch Punisher yet?
He hasn't said shit since we mentioned our fucking beers of the show, which was like, that's the second thing we said after fucking talking about fucking the other beer that I drank. So pretty great that he came on. Thanks for showing up, God. Appreciate it. You're amazing.
And he came back. I'm surprised he didn't come back with a fine like David Cage sucks.
Oh man! All right, dude. On that note, I think we have crushed this episode.
It's been a good time.
This has been a good one. And so we are going to wrap this up. We are going to come back in. We'll jump back into the next episode soon enough, so you'll get to see where we're going from here.
Mission 12. We'll be back with Connor.
So we are getting close to like about halfway through. Is that about right? I think it was like 30 or 32. 32. So we're about a third of the way in. About a third of the way in.
That'd be safe.
Yeah.
And again, the chapters might differ just on how you play it, so we'll see.
Right.
But the next one's going to focus on Connor. It's called Waiting for Hank. It's an interesting one. And
nice.
There's definitely opportunities for you to play it differently than I did. So
nice.
We'll see.
I hope it's just Hank sitting in a bar drinking, and Connor's just sitting outside like, Hank, Hank, what the fuck, man? Because that just makes me happy.
I will say, in a way, this one goes back to character development.
Okay.
Which, again, we're seeing like now Cage is switching it up, right? You've gotten used to each character playing their role, and he's kind of switching it up.
Right.
So, but they're
by
all
the way,
good. It's all interesting.
Anytime you just say Cage, all I think of is Luke Cage, and it gets me really fucking confused, and I'm like, God damn it.
Sweet Christmas.
Yeah. Sweet Christmas is right. On that note, we are about to Sweet Christmas our way out of here. Thank you very much for listening to Ready Player 2. It's been an awesome show. I've had a very good time, man. This has been super fun.
Me too. These are always fun.
I want to drop one more time, just say, go check out Live from the Man Cave, or livemancave.com, because our Live from the Man Cave, we have just dropped a new episode of our Live from the MCU, which is our RPG we're doing. So we're doing video games and tabletop games. We're playing that with our good friend Jim Sardonic. He's running a Marvel Cinematic Universe RPG game that he's playing with us. And you and I just recorded, we kind of alluded to, but we just recorded our kind of end of the year holiday episode that's going to be coming up in the next couple days. You will hear that. So There's a ton of shit you can check out that we've been doing, and this is just our other side thing. So we've been doing a lot over the last couple weeks. We've been knocking out some content, so you can expect that to keep going. So let's keep it going, Jess. On that note, I'm gonna go keep drinking. We are gonna shut this down. So let's go get a game. All right, dude. Peace.